Click like and subscribe with us over there at Facebook. Also at YouTube, you can subscribe there below. And this broadcast is for a mature audience. Political correctness is unavailable here, not suitable for politically correct viewers. And our FBI warning and our news program up next after this. Wake up with us, Doc and Jenny show. More after this.
Nashville friends that think I'm strange to make my home out on the range. I think it's nothing but a God-forsaken land. Why don't you bring your guitar and family, move on down to Tennessee? Well, I just smile 'cause they don't understand. But if they ever saw the sunrise on a mountain morning, watch those cotton candy clouds go by, they know why I live beneath these western skies. I got peace of mind and elbow room. I love to smell the sage in bloom. I catch a rainbow on my fishing line. Got county fairs and rodeos. Ain't a better place for my kids to grow. Just turn 'em loose in the western summertime. And if you ever held your woman on summer's eve while the prairie moon was blazing in her eyes, then you know why I live beneath these western skies. You ain't lived until you watch those northern lights. Sit around the campfire and hear the coyotes call at night. Makes you feel alright. So guess I'll stay right where I'm at, wear my boots and my cowboy hat. But I'll come and see you once in a while. I'll bring the guitar and sing the songs. Sorry if I don't stay too long. I love Tennessee, but you know it just ain't my style. I gotta be where I can see those Rocky Mountains, ride my horse and watch an eagle fly. I gotta live my life, write my songs beneath these western skies. And when I die, you can bury me beneath these western skies.
old USA, from the wild, wild west of Arizona. Boy, today do we have a program for you. We have great news. There's a movie company coming into town in about a week, and we're going to make a movie called Pearl Heart, and I'm hoping to be in it to some degree. But beyond that, I'm hoping that I can introduce those folks to what we've been talking about, the story of my father and the other guys that suffered in an American Auschwitz called Farview State Hospital for the criminally insane. And by way of a book called Cold Storage, which, thank you, Jenny, you have purchased for me. You are beautiful. I can't believe you did that. And the book that I've written on my life story, I hope to present my idea for what I think and we think will be a blockbuster, widescreen movie seen around the world, perhaps called From Here to Hell and Back. Because the story of what happened at Farview for decades, it just must be told. You know, it's been covered up. You know, there was a kind of an expose done in the 60s about it, but they managed to throw money at it and keep that place open. Can you believe for another 25 years, even after all these investigations and movie people and journalists were interested, even though they did make a few reforms, they renamed it something else and put lipstick on it, and but it's still the same buildings where my father and hundreds of other men were tortured, beaten, had their food urinated on, and suffered every bit as much as anybody in a German death camp in Auschwitz. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to meeting the director and the casting crew and introducing this idea. What do you think of that, Jenny?
I think it's wonderful. I think finding out about the Department of Justice and how they got involved in this in the 1960s, and then doing something like what we have been doing, go From Here to Hell and Back, really said a lot to me. And you getting that book, Cold Storage. By the way, if you ever look up a book like this, okay, and it's out of print, right?
Correct.
And it costs, the cheapest I could find it was $62. And it's obvious that this book is still got a lot of value. So I'm looking forward to what happens from here. I know a lot of people, like when they put together like a play or a script, I know there's a lot of work involved. So I'm hoping that maybe when you go to that casting call, that maybe it's a much bigger film, production. But I mean,
right.
I'm hoping that they'll give you the time that you deserve. I mean, it is, and having that book in your hand is going to be at least you got something in your hand,
Exactly, and it'll be very persuasive, I think, combined with my book, which I also have in my hand. All I can do is present a $10 million idea to them. If they grasp the vision of it all and see it, it'll be a wonderful thing. And if they don't, somebody else will. I'm sure this is too compelling of a story not to be told on the widescreen.
Well, they do documentaries about Auschwitz all the time. There should be documentaries done about this. I mean,
American Auschwitz. Yeah. Most people have no idea that we had operating for decades in this country. An American during World War II, let alone when we were fighting the Nazis and proclaiming our moral superiority, and we were operating in Pennsylvania, the equivalent of everything they were operating in Nazi Germany. But how many American people knew? It was covered up by the media. It was covered up by the politicians. It was covered up by the local people, the guards. All of them were on the take. They were making good money off of this place. So, why let this story ever really be known, and why end the good times? And that's why it went on for 25 years after a stink was made up about it in the 60s.
Yeah.
Now, after that stink was made,
thank God for the activists, George.
There were some improvements because of all the attention it brought, and they started to pay the guys and they started to actually transfer some out and clean up their act. But it was a little late in the game. They'd already done horrendous damage to hundreds of men, including my father by then, and nobody ever talked about compensating what they had done. That was all just covered up because they got 40,000 signatures from the local residents and so forth, pressure groups and politicians who were profiting from Farview, and they kept that scam operating for another 25 years. Can you believe that?
Oh, I believe it. I believe it. Now that you told the story, I believe it.
Yeah, it
Before
was.
before you told the story, no, I didn't believe it.
I know it's a story that will not only be true, that the movie producers won't have to embellish one thing about it. They won't have to make up anything. This
Oh
is a
wow.
story that jumps right out at you, totally factual.
Yeah.
Most movies, they have poetic license and they embellish where they need to and modify to make it more interesting to the audience. This is going to be a lot like Schindler's List. If you've ever seen
Yeah.
Schindler's
Yeah.
List, you didn't have to embellish that very much. It was an amazing story of Schindler doing what he did. So this is even more amazing. And when this hits the widescreen or made-for-TV movie or whatever, it will be just as compelling to audiences.
Oh yeah.
They will, and when it's said, this is not only based on a true story, this is a true story. That will have impact. That's golden. You rarely find a movie that you can honestly say, this is not only based on a true story, this is the real deal. Just sit back and watch this and be prepared to be amazed. What do you think, Jim?
Yeah, it reminds me. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. That's a really great comparison. Everybody that's ever seen Schindler's List, then you'll know a little bit about From Here to Hell and Back Again, and
Yeah.
Cold Storage, because that's exactly what Schindler's List would be. It would be along the same lines. Yeah.
Exactly. Only Schindler's List is as shocking as it was. I tell you, it pales in comparison to what this movie will be about, because the torture and the abuse that went on there, I think, was even beyond what they did in the Nazi death camps. I don't recall any stories of the German guards pissing on the prisoners' food before they executed them. They at least had the dignity and the class not to do that before
Yeah.
they put them in the gas chambers. But at Farview, they had no dignity, no class. It was all about profit. And when I visited that place, I saw that firsthand, the way they treated me, turning their back on me, refusing to give me my father's file. Only when I threatened to sue them did my father be released from that hellhole. And my family thanked me for getting him out of there and getting him into a veterans hospital, where he spent the last few years of his life in some degree of dignity, even though his mind was totally destroyed. Jenny,
Yeah.
when I went in there and I showed him my Penn State engineering degree, which is something most fathers would be really proud of, to see their son achieve that under any circumstances. He just stared with a blank expression. He didn't even comprehend what that meant. If I would have brought my two children with me at the same time, my daughters, and showed him his grandchildren, I'm sure he would have stared with a blank. His mind was incapable anymore of comprehending, other than the rudimentary act of shuffling along and sticking a clumsy spoon to his mouth, like I only gave him a big spoon to eat with, not even any utensil. So when I took him out to dinner, he only could use a big spoon and nothing else. If he had steak, he would try to cut it with a big spoon. I mean, it was sad to watch a grown man in such a state of degradation. The oath for physicians is do no harm. Well, those jerks violated that amazingly to an immense degree. They did a tremendous amount of harm to my father and to other men in there. They destroyed them physically, mentally, psychologically, emotionally, financially, in every way that a human being could be degraded, including peeing on their food and everything else. Solitary confinement, and it goes on and on. It's all in cold storage. So when this movie conscience of America. It will wake us up that we are capable in this country of as much evil as any Nazi regime. And it's about time, somebody put this on the widescreen. I'm going to spend the last remaining years of my life trying to make that happen, and with your help,
Yeah.
your genius, we will get it done. Right, Jenny?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because this must be told, and
It
the American public
it
must.
it's
Go ahead.
like it's hard to believe that something like this could happen, but it did, and it should be noted that there should be a mausoleum or some type of museum in Honesdale, Pennsylvania, and that's where we were going. That's what we started the paperwork on, to have some type of monument there.
Right. Exactly right.
There's
Exactly
one thing,
right.
like I foresee you seeing your grandchildren, and you going up there, and putting a flower on that monument.
Oh, I'll tell you, put more than a flower. I mean, there was going to be a line of people so long.
Yeah.
That remote corner of Pennsylvania is going to embarrass. They still have a prison existing there. They have the same building.
I want it right next to the prison.
Suffered and bled in. They're using the same rooms, the same buildings, and those buildings. That would be like having Auschwitz still open, but give it another name, give it a nice politically correct name. No, they have Auschwitz as a memorial in Poland, what the Germans did there. They did not reopen it as a prison camp at all. And it's dedicated to the sacred memory of the millions of people who died at Auschwitz. Well, the hundreds of men that suffered in Barview inside that very same building that's now renamed with a cute little name. I don't know what they call it.
Waymart.
Waymart.
I mean, really.
Correctional. And they just basically put lipstick on a pig is what they did.
Oh yeah.
They are reselling it because there's still money to be made there. See, and
Well,
that's
they didn't.
been the name of the game up there. They're still making money off those buildings, and that's all they care about.
They didn't learn. They didn't learn their lesson the first time, and they think they're gonna get away with it again.
That's right. They are still making money from that facility. Not as much as they made in the good old days of Barview, when they could really rip off everybody. But they're still making money, and that's all those people care about. The politicians, the businessmen, the citizens of the area. It's money, money, money.
They
money,
all profited.
more.
That's why they didn't want it shut down too.
Oh yeah, money, 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 money is the name of the game. And that's a sad testimony to our country, that our culture has become so money-driven that money is our God. Money is our God, and above morality, above dignity. Atrocities be damned, If it makes money in capitalist America, it's good. That is how enlightened our capitalist system has become, Jenny.
Oh yeah.
And that is what drove that. And you can find the documentation, not only in cold storage, but in actual reports from that when they did the investigations in the 60s, and they came to that conclusion that because of money interests, they prevented that from being totally shut down for 25 years. Because money talks, in this country. And you know what walks, nothing else matters. So if you get enough people with enough money behind anything, why, it'll be done that way. And that's a sad commentary on the culture and the way we operate as Americans. We have to be about more than making money. Money is great. Everybody wants to make money, but not at any cost. When you know what's happened, not only in our family, but in other families as well, is grasping for, everybody loves to get free money. From the government, steal somebody else's inheritance, whatever. I mean, people like to do that. They go to the casino, they hit a button, now they're a millionaire. Everybody dreams of getting free money. There's nothing like free money, not the kind you work for, the kind where you just hit a button or you just insert yourself into a situation and all of a sudden, whoa, if they had to throw people like my father, under the bus to get their free money, so be it. And this went on for decades. And atrocities that exceeded Auschwitz, that were worse than Auschwitz happened. Because, one thing, Auschwitz had crematories, but by then the people were
I
dead.
want to know what kind of people would allow it to go on. Because see, in Germany,
Yeah.
they would just turn the music up louder.
Oh, yeah. Well, even today, the relatives of those people that did that are probably dead or dying and old, but they have relatives that know what their aunts, uncles, grandfathers, fathers did. And if they had a shred of decency, they would say, you know what, we have got to make up for this. God Almighty, what my relatives did at Farview was an atrocity, and this money we have in the bank gotten from their inheritances and their efforts has to be returned and sent to the victims. If they were decent people, that's the kind of effort that would be going on all over Waymart County right now. Everybody that was associated directly or indirectly with that atrocity would be reaching into their pockets at the very minimum and writing
Well,
letters
if
of
they had
apology.
convictions like that, maybe.
Yeah. But
But
no,
I
it's
think
about
I
the
think
money.
you're gonna. It may not come in that. That's why you have to turn to attorneys and lawyers.
Yeah, it may have to go that route. Sometimes, there's an old saying, you grab them by the short hairs and their hearts and minds will follow. And in this case, the short hairs are their money, their bank accounts. Once they start paying to their bank accounts for what they did, all of a sudden it really means something. Otherwise, writing letters, emails, memos, that doesn't mean a thing in America. But when you start really impacting somebody's financial, since money is God here in this country, then, that's what you have to do. It's sad to say that the name of the game in America is get a lawyer, sue for $100 million, and then all of a sudden people pay attention to you.
Oh yeah,
So,
it'll make it to the news story too.
Yeah, exactly. But
But I
I'm hoping
think
to do it in a more kind and gentle way, by way of a movie. To kind of stir the conscience and say, folks, after seeing this movie that we're going to make, don't you think you and your kin ought to do the right thing? Don't you think you representatives of the Pennsylvania legislature ought to do the right thing? Don't you think all of you people, you newspaper Philadelphia Inquirer, and all you people that really knew about this, don't you think you should now, after all these years, do the right thing by way of these men? And I'm hoping to stir what's left of the conscience of these people. And maybe, just maybe, they'll be touched enough to reach into their bank account, their vast estates, made off of sweat, blood, and tears of men like my father, slave laborers, and have as much empathy and sympathy for them as they have for ex-black slaves or Japanese Americans unjustly put in Japanese internment camps, because what was done to men like my father was far, far worse. It was on the level of what happened, the worst that happened to black slaves.
oh yeah,
And maybe even beyond that. So if black slavery ancestors deserve compensation, consideration, you know what I mean? Then what about the relatives of the people who now exist, like myself and my children?
well,
Getting
it goes to show
compensated
you
for
it's
what
not
happened.
about race. Not every case is about racism. You know,
Oh yeah, it's about money, isn't it, Jenny?
it's about
always,
money.
even racism. Everything. What happened to the black slaves? It was always about money. Getting
Oh, yeah.
free labor, getting free money. We always in
Yeah.
our system look for free. We don't want to. People like the Amish and the Mormons, there were groups. They had no black slaves. They did their own work, and they did just fine without them. Need enslave people to get their work done. They went to Utah.
I'm going to tell you right now, I've never had to go through. I never had to do anything involving slavery. So I thank
Exactly.
God. I thank God I've learned how to work for myself and do for myself, and that's what our
You know,
radio broadcast is a way to make a living.
Right. Our family, were slaves. The very word Slav, S-L-A-V, came from the word slave, because those people throughout history have been enslaved. Poland sat between Russia and Germany and the Muslims. We constantly defended Europe against the Muslims, the Germans, the Russians, for 700 years or so, and we were the name Slavic comes from the word slave, and even when we came to America, men like my father were made a slave in America. So we know about slavery firsthand. We don't have to get any lectures. We don't have to read any books. We don't have to anybody teach us any history about slavery. It's burned into our history, our family, our gene pool, so to speak.
I was talking
Yeah.
to a waitress today, and she was defending what I find is very difficult to understand is like you're not allowed to make a living. Who are you? How are you going to pay your rent and your utilities? You know.
Right.
And she was defending the governor's decision to keep the state closed. I mean, do you think the governor's going to pull money out of his pocket and pay your rent and your utility bills and your mortgage?
So, they talk a big talk. They talk a big talk, don't they, Jenny? But when you ask half of these so-called liberals, left wingers, how much money is Nancy Pelosi taking out of her vast bank? How many illegals is she housing in her vast estates? Ask Schumer that. Ask any of them. You know what the answer is? Zero. Not one.
It was the most uneducated conversation I ever had, and it's no wonder she's working in a little place called Burger Hut.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I couldn't believe. I was like, okay, well, I said, I hope things go back to normal soon.
Right.
Because there's nothing normal about the business shutdowns and the slavery that you're talking about. That is all free. Like, the government does not. I mean, I still don't understand everything that really happened here, because I was sick in the hospital when I came out and everything was shut down. So I didn't know that everything was completely, ordered. There were orders by the governor. I didn't see all that.
Right. Well, we've had quite a program today, Jenny.
We sure have.
A lot of like every other program, there's never a dull moment when Doc and Jenny get together, right?
That's right. We have good conversations, and our conversations are going to get better, because I think once you get, the material to gather together, you'll really be able to put together something really wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everything's on order, and we've made improvements to our radio show, so I think we're right where we need to be, and I'm really happy with it.
I am too, Jenny, and I have to take my cowboy hat off to you and salute you, cowgirl, because even though you're in Pennsylvania, in my mind, you are every bit of a cowgirl. And there is a song that I like to sing. It's called "That Girl Is a Cowgirl," and I hope one day you pull it up on YouTube and listen to that song, because as far as I'm concerned, you are right out of the American West, and you are a living embodiment. You have the spirit of an American cowgirl, and that's a high compliment, believe me.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
Check out that song called "That Girl Is a Cowgirl."
Oh, great. We're going to end it there. Why would I want to say any more? All right, everybody. God bless everybody. Doc, you got the last word.
All I can say is thank you, Jenny. You are amazing. Thank our audience for listening, and thank God Almighty for setting us all free from slavery and bringing justice to this horrible situation that happened in our own country at Farview State Hospital for the criminally insane.
Yeah, we're getting results, that's for sure.
And the time for the hammer of justice to fall is right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Amen.
Amen. Adios, everyone. Adios, amigo.
Adios, amigo. Right to the border.
All right. Thank you guys for listening to our broadcast.
You got it.